All right, so good morning, everyone. We're supposed to talk about the autonomous vehicle strategy of the first in the state of Qatar, or to start with the AVS strategy, but I prefer I'll move things around a little bit. So we'll start with the AV efforts that the state of Qatar has done through the years. We're starting with the electric transformation towards a sustainable transport energy sources. I need some help with the clicker, please. No? Okay. Okay. That's okay. So, all right. Back in the days when the state of Qatar has won the FIFA 2022 football World Cup, we started looking at the country transport infrastructure. Back in the day, we had the Doha International Airport, and we had the old Doha Airport. So we built, the intention was to build a robust transport infrastructure in the country. So we started our journey maybe 10 to 15 years ago, and we started building and enhancing the country infrastructure. Nowadays, we have, as you know, the state-of-the-art airport that won the HIA, the Hamad International Airport, that won so many awards recently, the best airport in the world. And we have the seaport, the Hamad port as well, is one of the best ports in the world. This was augmented with the land transport infrastructure. We're talking about the bus infrastructure, the bus industry. We're talking about the taxis, the metro. We're talking about the complete PSVs and the metro and the bus express. Right. For this, from an infrastructure perspective, right? So today we stand. So before this, we go to the transformation and charging. Yes. Today, after a long journey of land infrastructure, we have built 4 major mega depots in the state of Qatar with 522 charging devices capabilities and capacity. We have 8 stations, and we're adding 3 more depots to our current depot system. So we're adding 3 more that were initially used by the LOC and the SC during the World Cup. So we have total of 7 bus depots in the state of Qatar. And we have 8 major stations located at Al Sudan, Lusail, the industrial area, Al Wakra, education city, Musharraf, Gharrafa, West Bay Station, and the transit station in Al Khor. All of these stations are equipped with charging infrastructure, with charging devices, whether gun chargers or pantographs. Also, we have the location of the 4 depots. We have the major depot, which if you've seen the model out there, is in Lusail. The depot can take up to 460 buses for a bus layover. Al Rayyan, around, and in the industrial area, and Al Wakra. Right. And that's the Al Rayyan bus depot, and Lusail. Right, and the industrial area and the Rayyan again. These are the plots and the power demand, and these are the charging equipment in all of these bus stations. We have around 16 pantograph chargers, and we have around 20 gun chargers located in the stations, where if there is a need to charge the buses in the interim. As I said, we have around, in the depots, we have around 14 pantographs and 553 chargers in the 4 depots that I mentioned before. From an electric charging equipment, these are, of course, these are the pantograph and the guns located in the stations and in the depots, right? The other thing we've done through the years is that we set up some strategies related to enhancing the EV industry and the EV market in the state of Qatar, whether public transport or private cars and even commercial vehicles. So in collaboration with our partners from Kahrama, from QP and other stakeholders, we formulated the EV charging, the EV cars and vehicles policy, which of course have lots of incentives in using and incentivizing the public to use EV cars, whether from custom duties, exemptions, to parkings, to even zero interest loans and all of these stuff. At the same time, Kahrama has issued the guideline for having an accredited charging device in the state of Qatar, and this was also published 2 years ago. Moreover, the state of Qatar, as mentioned by His Excellency, the Minister of Transport yesterday, is currently looking at tendering a homologation center in the state of Qatar. Once the EV specs in the GSO2 have been accredited and set, and then we have to make sure that all of the cars or all of the vehicles entering the state of Qatar are compliant with these standards, with the EV standards. Same thing, by the way, goes for the AV. Now, how would we do that? Which entity would do that? So the Ministry of Transport has taken the responsibility of having a homologation center in the state of Qatar that will look into the accreditation of these vehicles and issue the certificates that are related to it. As I said, through the years, we've transformed from a diesel kind of a transport power source into, today we are at 73% in public transport and looking after 100% by 2030. So there were a lot of carbon savings in the country. So what we're doing, we're trying to look into having a platform, a carbon saving or carbon offset platform in the state of Qatar to have all of these carbon registered, evaluated, and sold internationally. Of course, this will be an additional support to the public transport subsidy in the state of Qatar. Let me go back to the right. This is, as I mentioned, currently we have around 762 buses running for the public transport services. We have reached 73% having these buses in the country, and I guess we are one of the premium countries in the world that have achieved this goal. Our ultimate goal is to transform 100% of our fleet by 2030. All right. Okay, so this is as far as EV infrastructure is concerned and the program. Now, going back to the main point, which is the EV, we have launched the autonomous vehicle, the Ministry of Transport have launched the autonomous vehicle strategy, very recent. And the strategy consists of, we have selected level 3 to start with. So level 3 environment, the whole environment, we're focusing on level 3, and we're taking level 3 and then taking it forward to level 4 and level 5, hopefully. Right. We did a study around the world of where all of these countries are standing now. What is the standing point of every country in terms of AV? We looked at the states and the crews and other companies, what they are doing currently. We looked at, we had very fruitful discussions with our fellows in the EU, in Germany, and other countries. That's why after all of these studies and benchmarking, we selected level 3 to start with. So the strategy contains pillars or components. We're starting from cybersecurity and data privacy, the complete digital infrastructure, with our fellows, of course, from TESMO and the Ministry of Information and Communication. And at the same time, we're looking at how to digitize the services related to the AV cars as well. Infrastructure, as I said, there is the digital infrastructure and the physical infrastructure. So the state of Qatar, we can proudly say that the state of Qatar is the right environment nowadays to host the AV level 3 environment. We have a very good infrastructure, a new infrastructure, and this infrastructure will be augmented by AV wayfinding and related. That's part of course, the strategy is to look at the current infrastructure and see whatever we need to enhance, to further enhance the physical infrastructure to adopt the AV systems. Operations and fleet management also. When we talk about AV, we're not only talking about the private cars, we're also talking about the shuttle services and the public service vehicles. What would be we're looking at, as part of the strategy implementation going forward, we're looking at what would be the operational model of a fleet operating, a shuttle fleet operating for public service in the state of Qatar. How would you better control the fleet, of course, from safety perspective, from operation perspective, and from others' perspective. Liability and insurance is a big, I believe it's a broad spectrum. This is a matter of dispute, I guess, in the countries. Some countries, for example, in the US or in Europe, would say the liability, it's the manufacturer liability, where the manufacturer would push back a little bit, since he has the liability as per the law. Then they would push back from advancing this technology further. We're looking at this. We need to look at how would the liability works and the difference between the liability in infrastructure, in fleet operational PSVs and the private vehicles. How would we draw the line between these two spectrums? At the same time, the insurance, of course, which is a follower to the liability. So once the liability is confirmed, then we look at the insurance. We need to talk to the insurance companies and say where do they stand insuring what if there is an accident from an AV car? So who would you blame? Who would you go to? Who would you go back to? Testing and licensing and inspection. So as I said in the beginning, we're launching a homologation center in the state of Qatar. And one of the major pillars of this homologation center is to look at the vehicle testing, licensing, and inspection. We were just talking about this. Where do we stand as a government? Where do we stand? Which technology, which AV technology we as a government would approve? And how to approve that? Fine. After we do this, after we do the approval of the technology itself, then the testing and the accreditation, who would inspect the viability and the reliability and the safety of the whole vehicle, from software, technology, hardware, and everything. Countries today are still, suffering, or I don't want to say suffering. It's a big challenge. If you look at EV industry, you have so many certifications: EMARC, CT2, CCC, all of these certifications in the world. So the world is not bound into a single certificate in this front, and that's on EV. So what about AV, which is more complicated, right? I know there are lots of experts in the room, they might want to, exchange their knowledge and expertise later on when we sit together. So the vehicle testing, licensing, accreditation, and inspection by itself is a huge component of the strategy. And of course, driver testing and licensing. So you might say, well, it's an AV. What do you want to do with the driver testing? Why are you going for a driver? As I said, we're launching an L3 strategy, or we launch an L3 strategy. So when we implement an L3 strategy, the driver is part of this environment. So there is maybe later on when we go to maybe L5 or later on L5 plus or L6, that's a different model. And the social acceptance. How would you prepare your community? How would you prepare the market? How would you prepare the drivers, the other drivers? How do you prepare everything to accept an AV car on the road? How would you accept, how would the other drivers respect the boundaries of an AV car? The AV car does not, as you know, does not respond to the same way a regular driver responds. So all of these are the components of the AV strategy of the state of Qatar. We're going, I guess, in a couple of months, we're launching a strategy implementation program. And we invite all, of course, we invite everyone to pre-register, register, and participate in this upcoming tender. All right, that was the time frame of the government, of the Ministry of Transport initiative and program towards the AV strategy. We're looking at extend physical infrastructure. We started this year looking at looking and evaluating the infrastructure. We have an upcoming tender at the end of the year. It's called Wayfinding, which will support the wayfinding initiative of the state of Qatar, and will look also in augmenting the requirements of the AV vehicles from a wayfinding perspective. So we have a dual communication between the infrastructure and the cars themselves. Whether we're talking about AV cars, connected cars, or AV or normal vehicles. Set up the digital infrastructure. This is a little bit delayed. We pushed it to be included in the upcoming tender, in the implementation, in the AVS implementation scope. So we need the contractor to look at the digital infrastructure and see how can we enhance our digital infrastructure to collaborate to the AV and EV goals. Smooth fleet operation, as I said, we're looking at differentiating between the private AV cars and the PSV fleet cars, and what would be the right or the best fleet operation facility to run this operation. We need to foster, of course, operator safety, ensure vehicle level safety, develop liabilities. All of the pillars, all of the components I talked to in the strategy. This would be the timeline going forward. All right, so I will not get into a lot of details on how these timelines or how these pillars and chevrons that will be implemented. All of these will be part of the implementation scope of work that we're launching very soon. At the end, I want to say that we have lined up so many work this year, so 2024 and 2025. We have the, as I said, the AVS implementation tender coming up in a couple of months. We have the AV incentive strategy implementation as well, the incentive strategy implementation. We've developed a lot from a public transport perspective in terms of AV, but we need to also augment the success with helping the market, with helping the private cars reach up to hopefully 20% by 2030, or of course 20% or more. So for this, we're trying to build on the current policies and to have a strategy, an implementation strategy, working with all stakeholders, with the Qatar Central Bank, URIDU, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Interior, everybody, all the banks, everyone, just to augment the strategy and help implementing and incentivize the market to increase the percentage of EV in the state of Qatar. So this is another tender. The homologation center would be the third one. And we're trying to foster a center of excellence for the EV and AV vehicles going forward. This is the plan, actually, for the state of Qatar for the upcoming 5 years. So at the end of the day, we looked at the strategy from a physical strategy, from infrastructure strategy, from technology. We looked at the technology. We looked at the legal and legislative environment. We are building on our success from the PSV success, from the public transport success that we reached more than 70% on this front. And we're taking all of this. We're not reinventing the wheel when we go to the private EVs. So we're taking all of this success and trying to, replicate what we've done from a public perspective to the private perspective. And this, of course, would create the right environment to have the AV as well in the picture, since we are preparing the country for the EV and AV strategy. Thank you so much. That would be it for me. Appreciate it.